right, fourth graders, we are going into social studies today. You should have your notebook. Also, if you have not, can you quietly get your magazine out for me too, okay, if you haven't gotten that. My friends, while they are doing that, my friends at home, pause the video and quiz yourself on your states and capitals and their location. All right, so we are going to go in today. Give me a thumbs up, sideways, down, my friends in class. How are you feeling about knowing which state is which by looking at like a picture? So make sure you're practicing that up too, okay? You have it in your notebooks, remember. How are you feeling about knowing the states with their capitals, that like pairing them up? Okay. You've got a few more days. When is our quiz on these? Thursday. So you got some time to review them, okay? You might want to make, I know, Ryan, you said you made flashcards. Thomas, you made a Quizlet, didn't you? Yeah, you can make a Quizlet at home. You can also just straight up ask mom and dad to quiz you on them, okay? All right, so we are going to jump in and read a little bit of our magazine. Now, we're not going to get to read the whole magazine, unfortunately. But in your notebook, after we have the map, there's the page like this, right? We're going to fill in these blanks as we are reading through it, okay? So we'll do these together, okay? So we're going to get started by reading about the geography of the Northeast. So you're looking for these answers as we read. The Northeast gets blank seasons, and then we'll list the names of the ones it gets. And then the Northeast might be the blank region, but it has some of the blank populated cities. So you're looking as we read for information to kind of fill those in, okay? So we've got our geography of the Northeast, okay? Let's read. Amelia, can you come on up?
I also have a question.
What's up?
So, does it have, like, the show, or, like, you know, where you make your own show?
This one is not about the show. Nope, I don't know what this one is. We'll have to see. All right, I think this one is just more informational. All right, Amelia's going to read the paragraph right down here about geography.
Okay, so this one?
Yep.
Have you ever been to the Northeast? Maybe you even live there. If not, you might be surprised by the variety of places packed into the smallest region of the United States. Traveling across it, you'll see the landscape change from mountains and valleys to flat plains. You'll cross rivers and streams and pass by lakes. Eventually, you'll get to the Atlantic Ocean. There you might find rocky cliffs, a sandy beach, or a harbor full of boats. A harbor is a place on the coast where boats are protected from rough seas. Hop on your bike and we'll explore this diverse region.
Good. There's so many different things in that one area. Look at all that kind of like salmon and gold color. All of that has those different things. You could have mountains. You can have cliffs. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, sand, too.
It's sand, rough sand. Like all those different parts in this one region. Depending on where you are, you could have different parts. Let's keep reading about long ago down on the bottom next to the picture of like the ice or snow. Christian, can you come read that one?
Long ago, during the last ice age, the Earth was much colder than it is today. Most of the Northeast was covered in large, slow-moving masses of ice called glaciers. As these glaciers moved across the Northeast, they shaped the land. Some areas, like mountaintops, were scraped or worn down. In other places, glaciers carved out basins that later filled with water to form lakes. When the glaciers melted, they left behind rocks, sand, and even giant boulders.
And even, could you imagine that? The whole area being just covered with ice. Is that very livable?
No.
Oh, it's not. Minnesota has similar parts too that were like that. All of our lakes were formed from glaciers like that. So we have something in common with the Northeast. All right, let's come on to page 3. Let's go into the top right corner. Let's do Claire. Can you come read, Claire? Yep, in the top right corner. The Northeast has 4. Sounds like a number.
The Northeast has 4 very different seasons. Winters can be very cold and snowy. Springs bring warmer weather, but it can be rainy and windy. Summers are often hot and humid. During the fall or autumn, the leaves on many trees turn yellow, orange, and red, and then fall off. The climate of the Northeast varies a lot from one place to another. The north and mountains have the coldest weather. The coast is usually warmer in the winter and colder in the summer.
I heard if you go, and I saw some of you get your pens ready. Why were you getting your pens ready? Lily, why were we getting ready? It has 4 seasons. So in our notebook, you can just do the number 4 if you want. But then do you see how it has the colon, those 2 dots after it? We're also going to list them out. We can list them out underneath. Well, they have 4 seasons. What's one season that they get? Maddie? Your notebook. That's okay. Can you get a piece of loose leaf and then we'll fill it in later? Okay. All right, what's one season, Ryan? Winter. What's another season? Claire? Autumn or fall. Either one works. 2 more to go. Brooke?
Oh, summer.
Summer. And the last one, in my opinion, the best season, Alicia? Spring. I like spring because April 21st, as Maddie knows, is the best day in the world. Hint, hint, it's my birthday.
Yeah.
All right. So if you like any of those seasons, you might want to one day maybe move to the Northeast because you could experience all 4 of them there too. And you can have mountains. How cool would that be to have a mountain like in your state? That would be cool. All right. Let's keep reading then, okay? Let's come to New Hampshire underneath the picture of like the bright trees. New Hampshire. Nathan, can you come read New Hampshire?
New Hampshire's Mount Washington is the tallest mountain in the Northeast. Some people call it the home of the world's worst weather. It can snow in July there. The top of the mountain is so windy that its weather stations buildings have to be changed to the mountain so they won't blow away.
That's so crazy. They could actually blow away by all the wind that they get. That is insane. All right, and let's read just one more part. Let's read about underneath the farmer. Underneath the farmer. Lily, can you come read about the farmer?
The rocky soils and cool weather in New England make life hard for farmers. Even so, there are farmers in every state. Maine is known for growing potatoes and blueberries. Massachusetts is famous for cranberries. Dairy farming is common across the Northeast and the Middle Atlantic states. The climate is milder and soils are more fertile.
Fertile, yep.
Fertile. Farmers there grow crops and corn, fruits, and vegetables.
So they can grow lots of different things in the Northeast too. Let's go back to our notebook page. This one wasn't exactly said. We kind of had to infer from everything that we've read so far. Okay? I will say the beginning paragraph is going to be our most helpful. So let's think about that. The Northeast might be the blank region, but it has some of the blank populated cities. What do you think? Amelia?
The Northeast might be the smallest region.
It is our smallest region. It has 11 states, but are those states really big? No, they aren't. Good. So it's the smallest region, but it has some of the blank populated cities. Camille? Some of the most. Think about New York. How many people live in New York?
A lot.
There's a lot of people in New York. But then you think about like out in Montana, there's a lot more land, right? So a lot of people live in these teeny tiny spaces. Alicia?
Here. This was
Well, do you know the last time there was an ice age?
The Ice Age was millions of years ago. We've only had one. Just that very first one. All right, let's turn the page in our magazines. We're done with the geography section. Now we're going to talk about early peoples of the Northeast, and we just have one question to answer this time. Okay? The Northeast Native Americans mostly spoke 2 languages. So we're looking for the 2 languages that they spoke. All right, let's start with the paragraph up on the top. Zach, can you come read that? A little closer to me so we can pick you up on the camera. Okay.
Imagine it's summer of the year 15,000?
1500.
1500. You live in a village in what will one day be the state of New York. Your people are called Kanyankehaka.
Good.
European settlers will one day call your people the
Mohawk.
Mohawk.
We did talk about this before. Good.
There are no supermarkets or malls here. Get everything you need from nature. From forest, you get wood for cooking and making homes, canoes, and tools. The men hunt animals in the woods. Deer provide meat, skins for clothing, and bones and antlers for making tools. Women gather wild plants for food and medicine. Life changes with the seasons because it's summer. You spend the days helping your mom with farming and gathering berries and plants near the village. In winter, you might help with chores like weaving baskets or making snowshoes.
Any connections to other magazines we've read before? Does it remind you of the Pre-Columbian People magazine a little bit? Yeah, we talked about the Mohawk people a little bit in there. All right, let's come down here. I'm going to read this part, okay? So this map is a picture of what our states look like today, but it's also showing us where these different tribes would have been. Does that make sense? Okay. So, in 1500, many different groups of native people lived in the Northeast. They included nations from 2 language groups. These were the Iroquoian and Algonquian languages. This map shows where some of the larger nations lived in the Northeast. So remember how we talked about kind of up by New York is that Iroquois, okay? And then we got down by Maryland, the Padawan, and then Wampanoag by like New Hampshire up there. Okay, so we got different areas.
Massachusetts and Delaware.
And by Massachusetts, yep. All right, so let's come back to our question. They speak mostly 2 languages. What were these 2 language groups? Isaac? No, what did we just read about? Think back, what did we just read? There were 2 language groups. What were they? Lily, what was one? The Iroquoian. Iroquoian. The Iroquoian. And then the next one is a little hard to pronounce. But if you notice, they give us the Algonquian. Algonquian, and that's spelled Algonoquian. So was there any English to start? No, they either spoke Iroquoian or Algonquian. So one of those 2. Do you think these troops got along?
Nope.
Yeah, maybe.
They would until something happened, right? Well, most of the time, Native Americans lived in peace together. Remember we read about how they would trade and give supplies with each other? Mm-hmm. So they would get along very peacefully. Remember we talked about, look back at your picture. Do you remember what we called their houses? Longhouses. Remember? Because they're long
I think we
houses.
can say like 10 different families.
10 different families. Remember that? And we were like, not, and then the animals too and stuff inside. Good. All right. Any questions so far about the early people? We already talked about this, so I think we're going to move on, okay? So our next part, our last part for today, we're going to talk about colonies to a nation. The Northeast has blank of the original 13 colonies. So by the end of our section, you'll be able to tell me how many of the original colonies are in the Northeast, okay? So let's turn to from colonies to a nation. From colonies to a nation. All right. Volunteers, anyone want to read? Anyone? Zane, can you come up and start us off? Just the first paragraph, okay? That one's kind of long. That one's got a lot of stuff in there.
The first Europeans began to settle in the Northeast in the 1600s. They saw America as a wilderness full of unknown people and scary creatures. What would make someone leave home and travel to such a strange place? Some people, such as English Puritans and Quakers, came for religion's freedom. They were forbidden to worship as they chose in Europe.
Good, thank you, Zane. So some people left because they didn't get their freedom of religion.
Who's a pope?
Okay, they said, you have to do this religion. And they were like, I don't want to do that. That one would be up. That one's, that's tricky. I would say that is more of a pull, right? Because it's getting them to come to this new land because there's no...
You have to get out.
They're not saying you have to go, right? They're like, I kind of want to go here, right? Good, way to use that vocabulary too. All right, last paragraph underneath, others hoped. Alicia, can you come read others hoped?
Others hoped to find land to farm. Some wanted to make money for natural resources. English settlers found 8 colonies in the northeast. A colony is a settlement that's ruled by a faraway government. That the colonies bought land or took it by force from the Native Americans who were already living there.
Nice. So some colonists took the land, right? We talked about that with the Native American magazines, right? They took it. Some of them paid for it. And they kind of like how Stone Fox is buying it back. Sometimes people bought it from the Native Americans because they were like, okay. So some people bought it, but most people did just take the land. They were like, nope, you move on, go find something else. This one's mine now. Dibs. Okay. All right. So we're thinking through, look at that picture of the 13 colonies. There's 13 colonies, right? They're all different kind of colors and they go down the coast. But are all 13 in the Northeast?
Yes. No.
No? Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia. Are those in the Northeast?
No, southeast.
Those are the Southeast. So how many are in the Northeast? We also read it too. If you look through that first paragraph, it also told us. Do you remember how many of them? Do you remember, Lily? It was 8. We learn about 11 states in the Northeast, but are all of them original colonies? They're states, but they weren't part of the original states. So on our notebook page, the Northeast has 8 of the original 13 colonies.
New York would be 11.
So let's see. Of those ones, we had New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts, I believe. And then New Hampshire. I don't think Maine wasn't one of the original ones. Not right now. We're in the middle of a lesson. Okay. All right. We got a few more minutes. Let's read one more part. Let's read. Ooh, which part do we want to read about? Ooh, let's go do. All right, we're going to read two parts. Let's come over here on the left, right next to the colony picture. Monica, can you come read that part? By 1733.
Oh, okay. I'm so confused. Okay. By 1733, there were 13 British colonies along the Atlantic coast. They had local governments but also had to follow British laws. In the 1760s, the British government started passing laws that many colonists disliked. Some laws created new taxes. Many goods from Britain, such as tea, glass, and paper, were taxed.
So all these colonists are living here, and way across the sea is Britain, right? And they're saying, yeah, because you live here, you have to pay extra for that stuff. Because we have to send it to you, so you got to pay extra. And they were like, but we don't even get a say on it. They're like, nope, you have to pay extra. So then let's read what happens as an effect of all those taxes coming on. Let's read this part together, okay? In April, ready? In April 1775, fighting broke out between colonists and British soldiers in Massachusetts. This was the first battle of a war that would become the American Revolution. A revolution is a major sudden change in government or people's lives. The 13 colonies sent representatives to Philadelphia to decide what to do. They decided to write a declaration or official statement of independence. Do you know who physically wrote the declaration? Adam? No, he had a say in it. His thoughts came through in it. But do you know the person who actually wrote it? Yeah, Isaac. Yeah. He had his thoughts in it too, but he didn't actually write most of it. Do you know? Peter? Thomas Jefferson wrote most of it. My friends who know Hamilton, when they're in the cabinet battle, and he goes, don't act surprised, you guys, because I wrote them. No? All right. Well, he does that in it, and it's like, oh, it's really cool. We might have to watch just that part. Maybe I'll see if I can find that little clip. But Thomas Jefferson wrote a lot of it, but he used Ben Franklin and George Washington's ideas, and it took them a long time to figure it out, okay? In 5th grade, you talk a lot more about the Revolution, okay? So, questions on today? All right, you can put your stuff away then, and we are done with social studies for today.